to use my allotted time today to share some solemn reflections on the nature of the human spirit. I'm kidding. I'm gonna make some jokes about what it's like to be a student here. Shall we? Webster's Dictionary defines cliched speech opening as what I'm doing right now. But it's lacking entries for a few terms we're all familiar with. Mauled, LLM, MIB, MAHA. Just kidding, nobody knows what a MAHA is. Least of all the dictionary. Those entries aren't in there because you, Fletcher, like the term human security, are pretty hard to define. What is this place? I ask myself that question a lot, especially when I'm trying to explain to my friends that I'm not actually in law school. And the best explanation I've come up with so far is that we're a conglomeration of people from all over the world with vastly different interests, studying vastly different things, and the only thing we have in common is that we're not normal. Believe me, I mean that in the best possible way. I'm going to give you a few examples, starting with Brian Kurbis. This man grew up in Nebraska, but has spent a third of his life in Sudan. Let me say that again. He grew up in Nebraska, where I would bet 98% of the people don't even know that Sudan is a country, let alone have any desire to live there. And I know that because I grew up in Kansas, where it's probably 99%. Oh, and by the way, we have another Nebraskan who's currently in Azerbaijan picking up his 9th or 10th Eurasian language, and another one who spent most of last year in China. And people, this is just the Nebraskans. I could pick students from any other state or country represented at this school and make the same point. We are people who want nothing more than to know the world. Though if we're just spitballing here, a paying job with benefits would also be nice. Yeah, I'd say priority 1, know the world, priority 2, good job benefits. That order is flexible. This is a difficult position, though, because it turns out the world is pretty big, and we are but humble graduate students in humble Medford. How do we figure out which part of the puzzle to solve? Well, I think we do it by defining ourselves. And how do we do that? I'm so glad you asked. In the copious amounts of free time afforded to me as a Fletcher student, that's a joke, I've been taking improv comedy classes. It's pretty fun, and it's really prepared me to go off on meaningless tangents during class. So once again, apologies to all of my professors. Anyway, the first rule of improv is to say yes. Not only yes, but yes and. So if you're on stage and your partner opens the scene with, well, here we are on a boat, the absolute worst thing you can do is say, no, we're not on a boat, we're on a plane. This undercuts your partner's ideas and kills the scene. You are not positively contributing to the conversation. What you should do instead, after he says, well, here we are on a boat, is say something like, yeah, who knew those Somali pirates could be so accommodating? Now we've got ourselves a scene. In her memoir, Bossy Pants, my personal hero / spirit animal, Tina Fey, explains why the yes and rule is applicable to real life. She says, to me, yes and means don't be afraid to contribute. It's your responsibility to contribute. Always make sure you're adding something to the discussion. Your initiations are worthwhile. This is what I mean by the need to define ourselves. It's about contributing. It's about having a sense of purpose in everything we do. It's about knowing that we have something to say and that we are qualified to say it, even if our actual degree is unrecognizable to anyone who didn't attend this school. The challenge for us at Fletcher is to marry this serious mission with the capacity to enjoy the lighter side of things. After all, we voluntarily study some of the most heinous and horrible subjects known to man: genocide, terrorism, corporate finance. It's too easy to get stuck mired in these dark places. Like when you look up from your Carolyn Ginn and realize you haven't seen the sun in 3 months. Avoid this at all costs. First, because after this winter, we all need the vitamin D. Second, because ignoring our own happiness won't help us fix the world's problems. We must endeavor to not take things seriously once in a while. You know, yeah, sure, applause for After all, I think it was WebMD that said, laughter is the best medicine. Listen, we're all gonna get jobs. We're all gonna make 6 figures if you count both decimal places. But what's not guaranteed is happiness. That's something we have to work for every day. So remember the things here that gave you pleasure, from free food in the Hall of Flags at social hour to free food in the Hall of Flags after events. Strive to replicate them, even when you're out in the big bad world where there is no Hall of Flags, and I'm told, hardly ever any free food. There's a quote usually attributed to the Roman poet Horace that perfectly sums up what I'm trying to say here. It goes, "Mix a little foolishness with your serious plans. It is lovely to be silly at the right moment." So, define yourself, define your happiness, and in doing so, you'll define Fletcher better than any dictionary ever could. Thank you.